we are. Let me turn that up just a little bit. All right. Welcome to a special edition of the Backyard Professor live chess. Tonight, I have been conversing with a very good friend of mine, a good chess partner who just absolutely whallops me all the time mercilessly. And it's awesome because I'm trying to get better and he keeps me humble. And hey, he's here. In fact, hey, here you are, Dustin. Good to see you. You're the only one so far. I think a few people will get their notification and then come on and show up. So forgive me if I take just a minute or two. But yeah, I play through these games, and really sincerely, the thing I've loved about Dustin. I'm going to talk in general terms, Dustin, until everybody else gets here. So it's going to feel odd to you, but it's going to be natural to me. But the thing I've loved about Dark Side of War is his chess handle on leeches in our Backyard Professor Chess Club. Dark Side, I'm going to call him Dark Side. I've always called him Dark, but he's not. He's a beacon of light. But Dark Side, the thing that I have noticed about him is he always just comes and gets me when I'm playing him chess. He just attacks me. And he told me so a few years ago. Well, that's what the grandmasters say. Grandmaster Igor Smirnov, a very famous chess GM on YouTube, says the same thing. Just attack, 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 and it gives you the ability to retain the initiative, right? So these two chess games I'm going to show you. Hey, it looks like quite a few folks coming in. Good to see y'all. Hey, hi, Tumblers. How are you? Ian Thomas Brennan. Hello. Yeah, baby. We're going. Oh, well, don't worry. I'm going to get even with you soon, Dustin. The gentleman, my buddy, my real good friend, Dustin, is in the chat tonight. I'm playing his 2 games of chess that put him over 2,000. So that's what I want to show you. Now, the cool thing is, it's with the same gentleman who is also rated just right around there. And Dustin played him the first time, Dark Side. I'm going to call him Dark Side. Dark Side played him the first game and then won. And he won as the white. And then they did a rematch. The gentleman wanted a rematch, and so he did. And so he played him as black. So he's beat him both times, once as white, once as black, which is cool. That's how we really like it. So, oh, yeah, Dustin. Yeah, now it's my turn to learn. Yeah. He says he learned from me. Target. Yeah, that's Jeremy Silman all the way. Ken Brown. Oh, good. Good for you. Been watching Bobby Fischer. I've got to do more Bobby Fischer games too. Absolutely. And Gordon Reed, hello from Northern Ireland. Welcome, my good friend. Yes, we're rocking and rolling now. Okay, here's the 2 games that I'm going to show you from Dark Side of War, a good friend of mine. Let's get this show on the road. Now, in this game, Dark Side is playing the white pieces. Hold on. Let me adjust this board. Good grief. I usually do this before I start recording so you can see what an amateur I really am, but we already knew all that. We know I'm the amateur, and it's good. Okay, knight. Is that somewhat straight? Isn't that crazy? This camera angle makes my wall look like it's tilting, and yet my board is straight. Maybe that's because the wall is tilting. My bookcase. Anyway, no, that's not it. Anyway, oh, for Pete's sake, just tilt your head or something. It's all good. Holy cow. Hey, Darth Revan Studios. Oh, you are very kind. Thank you, my good friend. I appreciate it. Good for you, IT Brennan. Gosh dang, I'm jealous of you guys. I can't hardly beat anybody these days. I can teach it and show it, but man, to play it is so difficult for me for whatever reason. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so the King Knights are out here. Dark Side bumps the D4. Oh, and his opponent's going to go for the Fiend Kettle. Okay, the fianchetto, the bishop out to the side. So let's take a look. And of course, C4. Yeah, baby. Nice. Take note of this. And of course, if you are going to bump the G6, or as white, if you bump the G3, you really need to fianchetto the bishop, because I've seen games where they don't and they get clobbered. Don't do that. Once you commit yourself to this pawn move, you have to put the bishop there, because you're weakening the dark squares. See, without that bishop there, those dark squares are weak. The bishop compensates. That's why you fianchetto it. The bishop compensates those dark squares. I promise you do want to fianchetto, right? Okay, so somewhat like a King's Indian defense, maybe a Grunfeld. We'll see. We'll see. Let's take a look. Bishop G7, and now bops the other knight. Dark side bops the other knight, and D5. Of course, tension in the center. You're going to fight for the center. Period. End of discussion. That's how you want to play this without question. John, hi, kids. He says, yes. Hello, John. Oh, thank you. Love the old school board. I do too, but most people just really love watching the electronics. And so it's kind of interesting, but it's all good. It's all good. I do a little bit of both, but tonight, in honor of you, Dark Side, I want to do the good board, the old school board. So, all right, so the D5, and he's going to put tension in the center. Now, again, and I've said this, I know I've said this 100 times. I'm going to say it 200 times. Just because there is tension in the center doesn't mean you automatically have to take it. Now, there are times where you do want to relieve the tension in the center, right? You have to look at the board and see what's going on. So, black doesn't have a knight out yet. He's just a little behind in development, only because he's doing a fantastic job. He's keeping up with dark side on the development. There's no question about that. But, I mean, someone has to start first. And so white, by convention, goes first, and then black. So black is a step behind. Dark side goes ahead and takes the pawn, doubling the pawns in the center. And you go, what an idiot. Just keep watching. No. No idiocy here. So the knight will take the pawn, of course. And of course, dark side knew that. He saw that. That's not a surprise. Don't be surprised if that happens. Your opponent is definitely going to do that. And now comes the fun stuff. So what they did, he released the tension of the pawns in the center. But now look, there's tension with the knights. So there's still a battle for the pawn center, and dark side has a good pawn. The next move fortifies the center, gaining a tempo. That's how to do it. Hitting the knight. Now the knight must move. Notice how it puts two pawns in the center. Good setup. That's very nice. He had to be happy with that. So, and here's a little micro lesson for you. I'm going to try to act like I know what I'm talking about, and I'm somewhat trying to teach you something. You guys already all know this. This is for my sake, not yours. Hey, Monday Night Chess. Woohoo! If you're playing the black pieces, and you do have something to this effect. Now, understand, you've already moved your knight twice. For Pete's sake, at this point, you can't go do that. You can't retreat. Too passive. It doesn't help you. You're in deep caca because, of course, that. And now you're just in trouble because white is going to railroad you. He's got the option here. Yeah, hopefully you see that. And again, you move the knight twice. you can't you can't go backwards. You can't retreat. No, that's too passive. It just is. That does not help you. This is not the Alcan defense. Now, in the Alcan defense, of course, the knight bops all over the place until he does get over here. So, I mean, I guess in a sense, that could be a second-rate responsible. I mean, you are going to have this, although the pawns are going to come knocking. So you better hope you've got something. If he does, you've got a great e5 square, although it's challenged. So the idea, what I'm trying to get to you is, from this point, Black's response is correct. Take the knight. Go ahead and trade the piece off. And you say, yeah, but that's 3 moves for the knight. Correct. But White's dominating the center, right? You can't afford to be passive, right? And so don't. And so Black responds properly to dark side, I think. What do you think, Dustin? Did you think that was a good response? That's my thinking. I think it was it was a correspondence game, he says. Yeah. So just a quick little lesson. I'll let Dustin tell you what he thought about that. I personally think he responded correctly. And now, of course, and not all is lost because you've got the B pawn to take it. What this does, yeah, true, it isolates your A pawn. Honestly, he hasn't started a queenside situation yet. He really hasn't done anything on the queenside, so this isn't critical. What this does is it does connect again into the central pawns. There's not a lot of different islands. There's no isolated pawn. And so the pawn structure after that exchange just favors White. Because now instead of missing the C pawn, which can support the center, like it used to be, by retaking with the pawn, he now has the C pawn, which again supports the center. That's a great pawn center. The D pawn of Black is missing. So the effect of the fight for the center with the pawns appears to me to be on White's side. I just want to point that out to you. Sincerely, truly. Okay, thank you, Dustin. Yeah, Dustin said it was his only move. I am in 100% agreement with. That's what I was trying to explain. Yeah, technically, that's the only move that Black. Yes, yeah. And you're saying the same thing I am now that I'm reading it. Exactly. The 3 center pawns are just, yeah, and he can't respond in kind for the battle of the center because his D pawn is missing. So again, this is this theme that just blew me away when I first discovered Jeremy Silman, learning how to read the chessboard. And that takes time and that takes experience. And I don't do very good at it sometimes, but I try to practice that. I'm going to encourage all of you, my audience, to continually practice learning how to read the center. When you have a pawn center like this and your opponent doesn't, oh heavens, yes, this is glorious. Now, and I played the game, but I can't remember it because I have 2 games of his. If I know Dustin correctly, he's going to start getting pieces out here real quick. You've got the center established. You don't have to keep pushing pawns. In fact, this pawn was not pushed. It was a response of an exchange of pieces, right? So let's see if I remember this correctly. B took C3. Wow, and notice what his opponent does. And this again is just, it's quite frankly, yeah. Look, when your opponent has a 3 pawn center like that, don't. It's like I've said about rooks. I rant and rave about rooks. If your opponent gets a rook on an open file, for the love of Peter Rabbit. Do not let him just keep that open file. Challenge him on it. Exactly. With the pawn center, of course, challenge your opponent on it. So I thought this was a good response. But again, notice this. I'm just pointing it out. I think it's honestly just because of the nature of the way this game is going at this point. Black exchanged his only active piece that was in the center. Now, his bishop does have influence from a distance. I grant that, but he's hitting granite with these two pawns here. He's not going in. His influence is very limited at this point, but he still hasn't done anything on the queen side yet. I agree we're early in the game, so I'm carping a little bit. I get it, so it's okay. Let's see what happens. I thought c5 was a good response personally. Okay, here we go. What does dark side do? Peace. Now just watch this. Bishop c4. Knight c6. Now just watch this. This is critically cool and important. Bishop e3, another piece. And queen a5, another piece. You see that? I really want to emphasize this for the simple reason that when you get more pieces out, tactics begin to show up. And unfortunately, or fortunately, but I mean, I have such a hard time defeating dark side because he's so tactically sharp, because he's always throwing tactics at me, because he's throwing pieces out there as fast as he can. But I feel like I do in our games too, and I still get whopped. What's he going to do here? He's got a tactic. Do you see it? Dark side, hush. Don't you answer it. You played the game. Dark side is in the audience with us, just so you know. So I'm honoring him with showcasing two of his games that put him over 2,000 ELOs. So what do you guys think? What do you see that you would do here as a tactic? Let me see if I... Yes, John, this is one of Dustin's games. I'm going to show two of them. Kaboom! Yeah, and it's a boomer. There's your hint. Quiet, Dustin. Come on, tell me, what would you do if you were white at this stage? This is a great lesson here. Whether you know tactics or not, it's irrelevant. There's a really cool move. Okay, let me show you. Any guessing yet? Not yet. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, hit the like button for me, you guys. Welcome to all you new viewers. I'm getting new subscribers all the time. I appreciate your support and love and help and being in my audience at the spur of the moment. So welcome all of you newers, men and women. I know there's been quite a few women subscribing to my chess channel, which is very appreciative. Irina Krush and Judith Polgar. There are some fantastic. Amy Cramling, I think is her name. I hope I don't mispronounce her name. She's a famous YouTuber. Both her parents are grandmasters. I mean, the ladies have some good stuff, and I'm going to start showing their games as well. So here we go. Rick Tipke, Knight G5. You're correct, Dustin, but just quiet. Just hush it, pal. Okay, so let's take a look at this real briefly. Good guess, wrong answer. Well, I mean, I say wrong answer. It's not what Darkside did, but Knight G5, that is fundamentally in the game potential. Always with this kind of an opening. So that's not what he did just yet, but that's not a mistake. So good eye. That's a good move. You've got your queen. And I get it. H5, you can't go to H5 yet. No, don't do that. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying good eye to keep your eye out for that type of a move. However, here's what Darkside did. Kablam. The f7 pawn is always the weak pawn on the dark pieces. Check to the king. And the king immediately said, man, I'm getting the heck out of here. And he came up to here. And Dustin Darkside objected, and he said, no, 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 no. You're not going that far, pal. And so he made him put his king back, and so he decided just to take the bishop. And he took the bishop. If you're not laughing, then my humor just sucks. I get it. Watch my dumb dad jokes instead on my shorts, because that was really stupid. I apologize. I'm having so much fun showing your game, dude. So okay, so now we have this. So no castling for black. His king appears a little bit loose. Now, it doesn't have to remain that way. Now, Darkside hasn't castled yet either. And this is perhaps part of why he's saying this could have been a mistaken move. I know when you see a tactic, when you see a juicy move, when you see a way to win a pawn, even at the expense of a piece, in order to worsen your opponent's position and all, I get it. That's the excitement of chess. But before you start attacking, it really is best to tuck your king away. And it doesn't matter which side. Well, I mean, what's his nose? The wonderful little young Romanian international master, Banzia. He's showing off the Jobava London that I'm studying. And he says, in the Jobava London, now Daniel Naroditsky agrees with him in some respects. In that opening, you do want to castle long. Well, Darkside's close. All he has to do is move his queen to castle long. But instead of attacking all of a sudden all out, you can't. For one, you're not developed enough. That's another part of the prematurity of the attack. But let's see how his opponent responds. You do want to castle. So neither side is castled, but black can't, though he can get his king a little bit safer. One, Darkside no longer has his light squared bishop. So if the king goes, it's going to take the queen to get on the light squared diagonal if the king bumps back there to G8, right? And then starts putting a piece or two in front of him. He's still got that wonderful knight or bishop here, though. So anyway, I'm making a big whoop to do about this. I don't mean to, and yet in a way I do mean to, because watch the follow. Now here's the thing. You make a move like this, and I agree, you're not fully developed. So the essential characteristic of the bishop taking the pawn to check the king, get the king in the open, is to help you speed up your development. You have to have a follow-up. Otherwise, you really are committing chess suicide. But Darkside has a terrific follow-up. He develops his queen with tempo right there. Very nice. Queen b3, check. Now notice he's keeping his eye on the b7, which more or less is going to make that bishop stay home, right? Unless black almost wastes a move to put the rook there first in order to get the bishop out. So you see how that puts a cramp on the queen side of black, right? Remember that move. This has been notoriously difficult to deal with once your opponent does this. It also, he's saying, well, hello, you lovely lady. The ladies are having a conversation over the fence here, but his queen is keeping track of his opponent's queen, keeping kind of in touch with her, right? So this is an important point. Check, and now king f8. So he did close off the white diagonal, but not with the bishop, with the queen. Does that matter? Now, here you go. Here you go. Whoever just a few minutes ago said knight g5, here it comes. Knight g5. So a few moves too early to do the knight g5. He went ahead and did the bishop, take the pawn, and then it helped him develop his queen out. And now, definitely, now he's working both sides of the board in a cross check against the king who can't castle. And he's still somewhat loose. Yeah. Here we go. Knight's going to come to try to help. Knight d8. Now he castles. So notice how dark side did this, and this falls right in line with what the grandmasters, especially Igor Smirnov, teach, is develop all your minor pieces first, get your queen into the game, castle, get your queen into the game so that you can connect the rooks. Now he's fully developed. Observe. He can't castle. This rook's never going to make it into the game, is it? I've shown this on other videos, man. This is so now. True, it was a little early with the bishop. I get that. But the effect is to play one rook less because he's never going to get that rook out of there. And his queen side is not developed yet. I mean, how bad does this get for black? Right? His knight is on the first rank of black. There's no, the only two really active pieces are the bishop, which is hitting absolute granite, and the queen, who can't do anything anyway. The queen gives me the impression of being just misplaced. Am I misreading that, Dustin? To me, the queen is misplaced. She has no influence anywhere. And you ask, well, then does that, well, White put his queen over on the same side? Isn't his queen misplaced? Heavens no. The difference is gigantic. He has something called pressure that is actually keeping this guy out of the game. And he's got that magnificent diagonal directly at the king. And it's keeping the rook out of the game. That queen is keeping two pieces out of the game, the queen bishop and the rook. So the two are not the same at all. So that's my interpretation of Darkside's game at this point. Again, it's called reading the chessboard, right? So I'm trying to show you how that's done with my amateurness. So finally, black says, okay, we've got to get rid of the tension. C takes D. You notice dark side left the tension in the center on the pawns. It is to your advantage. Here's the example of putting pieces into play, the queen, the knight, etc., rather than taking out the tension. Let your opponent do that. This is superb. Here's why. Watch the effect. Now he takes, what do you see? Read the chessboard with me. So we're on, okay, yeah, see, we're on move 14. So we are fundamentally in the middle game. If not, yeah, we're in the middle game. We're not approaching the end game yet. We're still firmly in the middle game. And look, the bishop is far more active than either bishop because this one has been so limited because of the best feature. Those central pawns, their power is being exerted enormously. Black cannot technically challenge them. Dark side has the center. And remember, all power radiates from the center. You're more powerful that way. Look at the activity of the queens. Now, they're roughly sort of the same, but not really. The power of the activity of the white queen is really more significant than the dark queens. Although There's a play over here, but it's protected by the bishop. The bishop is more active. The knight is more active than the knight. The queen is better placed. All he has to do now is put his rooks into this game, and voila, baby, because this rook can't do much if that bishop doesn't move, and that bishop can't move because of the queen, who is well placed. See, we're still reading the chessboard. We're trying to analyze who's winning. Fundamentally, white has the better position for all of these reasons. Okay, so I am trying to make a big deal about it. May as well turn this into a good chess lesson. Now watch what black does. Rook g8. Well, okay, he's activated the rook. It just doesn't have a significance. I mean, compare that rook. What if at this point, as a hypothetical, you bump the f pawn? I mean, holy terror, Batman. You're going to have a tremendous kingside attack, and look who's backing the pawn. That's just going to strengthen that rook. This rook really doesn't. The pawn is blockaded, and that pawn is under attack, right? So it just gives you the impression that the rook move doesn't do anything helpful. That's where he was. But look, the knight is the only one guarding the checkmate square, the queen and the knight. Did you notice that? I've said in many videos, you guys, the queen and the knight are the dynamic duo of attacking in chess. This definitely shows that, right? So the rook comes over. Okay, he's trying, but then the king can't really go anywhere safely either. So again, that rook never really gets into play. We see this now, and here we go. I gave you the hint. Here we are. Knight takes h7 check. The attack is on. The attack has actually been on now for like the last 3 moves, just so that you understand that. And I want to see. Oh, hey, S. Parker. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, 8-6 could have gotten rid of the knight. That's true. But he chose to move the rook instead. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting. That's an interesting concept. What if he would have pushed the pawn? Then where could he have gone? Right? Because the knight's protecting this, so well, he still could have went check, though. Yeah, now the idea of chasing away the knight, this is a good little lesson here, you guys, sincerely. So if he had pushed h6, what I'm seeing here, and Dustin Darkside can correct me if I'm wrong, is that wouldn't drive my knight away. See, something like this, because of the position, something like back to h3 or f3 is far too passive. You don't have to retreat. It doesn't make a difference with that h6 push pawn. Good eye, though, it makes for a good discussion, and that's what we're here for, right? You can still do this. And in fact, that's what I would have done. So I personally wouldn't have cared whether he pushed h6. I would have definitely just said, hey, check. So he didn't, but thank you for bringing that up. That's a good point. King goes to e8, the only square. So now what? Dustin, hold your tongue, my friend. I want to see what someone else says. Any other ideas on what to do now as white? This is really kind of fun to do. I wish I could play good chess like this. I will someday. Oh, that's true. The rook would have took because the rook was over there. Good point. I forgot to move the rook back, so that h6x position was just puff in the wind. Thank you, Mr. Rabbit. Mr. Rabbit corrects the Mr. Professor. Okay, so here's what he did. Queen takes the rook. Blam. See, that rook never got play. Now he's really got him. Check. And this is a yes. Yeah, very good, Rick. Very good. Yep, queen takes the rook. And so the king has to come to d7. And at this point, dark side, you're looking for checks, captures, or threats on both sides, right? Well, there's obviously no checks for black to do. Black hasn't even begun to approach. You notice who's on the defense the whole time. Yeah, this is so typical of my games with dark side. If I was playing black, I'd be in that position too. You have to respond to him because he attacks so well. There's our key. Target. Think target. Yes. Jeremy Silman's correct, and we're seeing that happen here. You look for kings, checks, threats, and I've added one more to that list of phenomenal 3, undefended pieces. Do you see any undefended pieces? All over the place. The queen, for instance. You want to just keep your eye on something like that. That queen is just out there in the middle of nowhere all by herself. The rook, it's not defended. Now the bishop is, but just barely by the king, as the knight is, but that bishop isn't. So what do? You got a free bishop. Take it. Checks, captures, threats, and undefended pieces. And now it's essentially game over. I mean, really seriously, it's essentially game over. So, okay, yeah, the knight wasn't doing anything. That was definitely the least active piece. Actually, the least active piece is this poor rook and the poor bishop. They both get nominated. Neither one of them notice they have even made a move yet. But that knight really looks lousy on the first rank. Get him back into the game. Hit the queen. Yeah, I get why he did that. Absolutely. Here we go. Because of his best development, he's got knight f6 check. And look at that tactic. Is that just fun to see or what? Come on, you got to love that. The pawn is pinned on its home square. Now, this is kind of shocking. I want you to catch this. That is a central pawn. Man, that is one of the first pieces in every chess game that gets pushed. This one hasn't even moved. And now the irony is it seals the fate of the game on its home square. Fantastic tactic, man. I know, don't let it swell your head, Dustin, but God, love that. And in fact, that's where he resigned. Black resigned at this point. Yeah. Yeah, there's you're done. You're done, cowboy. You're gonna start doing this, hitting the target. Not this next move because you want to keep your queen, but that option, that idea is certainly there. You can't take the pawn just yet, but you don't need to either. Just take the pawn here and then push your pawn, which brings your bishop even further into this eventually. Once you get your rook in there, that bishop's a goner. You could even afford to go down in exchange to get rid of the bishop to open up the king. And once you sacrifice the rook, you can come here and swap off the rooks when you put the bishop back. I mean, there's all kinds of options, but there's options only mostly for white because of his better development. That's key, man. I end up saying that in every doggone video I make. Isn't that crazy? I mean, you hear that from me every video I make on chess, don't you? Well, ta-da! Here's a guy who, what were you rated, Dustin, when you first got on the Backyard Professor fan club page? I can't remember what I was, but you were like, what, 1,400, 1,300, 1,500? Now you're over 2,000 thanks to this game. Guess how he did that? Superior development and tactics. There you have it. Now let's go to his second game, and this is the one, man. He just played this one. He contacted me and said, hey, check out this game. Now, the thing I want to note about this game is that it was played perfectly. And you got, yeah, whatever. No, I mean it for real. Not even a joke. This game, he had no mistakes. He had no inaccuracies. He had no blunders. I hate how good he can play chess. I wish I could play chess that good. But I hate you, Dustin. I love you, brother. But it can be done, and we're going to show you. Dustin has been very kind to allow me to show this game. I asked him immediately. When I played through it, I said, oh, come on. Please let me show this. He said, yes, absolutely, show this. So my point is, with a lot of patience and a lot of practice and a lot of work, we too can start playing better chess like this. Dustin's been at it for years, and now look, it's coming to fruition. I've been at it for years. It's my turn next, man. So here we go. This game, Dustin is playing the black pieces. No mistakes, no inaccuracies, no blunders, and this puts him at 2077. Let's check it out. First, I got to wet my whistle. This shows us it's possible. No, I'm not trying to. Justin, you owe me. You have to throw the next 20 games my way. Oh, not yet understanding. Hey, welcome, by the way. No, I haven't misplaced a piece yet. That's a disaster, isn't it? Yeah, me too, Dustin. Dustin says he's proud of this upcoming game. Absolutely. That's why I wanted to showcase it. I mean, when you're friends with the BYP, I'll do you all kinds of good, cool things. So, okay, let's go. Let's go. D4. F5. F5. You gotta be kidding, Dustin. F5? What a klutz move. That is the worst pawn to move in an opening. Unless, of course, you're playing the Dutch. And that's what he's doing. Oh, hey. Oh, Gary Tatum. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yes, the bishop sacked for position. That was part of the real joy and fun of that last game. Absolutely. That was awesome, wasn't it? Yeah. And it changed the whole character of the game once that bishop took that pawn, didn't it? So perhaps maybe dark side decided, hey, I'm not going to let him do that. I'm going to push the pawn first. No, this is good because he plays a Dutch. I love ribboning because we do this in the chat every time we play too, right? We have a lot of fun. So, and now knight f6. So here comes the Dutch. Now, and I know there's a lot of people who don't like the Dutch. I get that. I have played it off and on. I remember my reaction in joking with Dustin just now about the f5 pawn. I did this same move with my nephew, whom I taught how to play chess. And within 6 months, he was trouncing me. And now we go back and forth. In fact, I beat him that last chess tournament a week ago from this last Sunday. I took second place. I won 7 of 8. But yeah, when I played the Dutch, he goes, what kind of move is that? And I go, that's the Dutch, dude. And I did beat him in that game. So anyway, fun stuff. Okay, so here it is. Dutch defense, beautiful. Queen c2. His opponent, now it's the same gentleman, again, is mincing no words. He's not farting around with extraneous pawn moves here. He's going straight for the piece development, which you have to do in the Dutch, and so is Dark Side of War. He's pulling the pieces out, absolutely. Now, I get it. Yeah, the third pawn move. Remember, every chess rule is made to break. That's how chess works, right? Man, if you live exact rigid by every chess rule, you ain't gonna win much, right? But look at the pawn strength, right? But unfortunately, against the Dutch, there's something that can be done about this. So this is going to be fun to see. Now, of course, you see it. Once again, there is very good reason not to let your opponent have that kind of pawn power in the center. So take the pawn. F takes E. All right. There you go. F takes E. And now, and you go, okay, yeah, but that gives the knight a pretty good central position. Don't sweat it. Get your pieces out. Dark Side of War is showing us how it's done here. Get your pieces out. Get your pieces out. Now, observe something fascinating. In the Dutch, no less, with a really funky opening F pawn, Dark Side is better developed than the white. But white moves first. So that means white has made a couple of extra pawn moves that perhaps may cost him some time, because quite frankly, the effect of the pawn move, while it did get the knight in the center, I get that, that's good. That's not a permanent post for the knight. It's easy to get rid of it or chase it off. Please tell me you can see that. We've got the pawn push, which is a central pawn. Yes? So knight c6. Don't worry about that knight right now. Now, again, his opponent is pushing pieces. And because it is Dark Side of War, and this is one of the things that just is a joy to play him, because he'll learn you every game. Watch what he does. No sooner than I say, look how well they're all developing, than Dark Side breaks that rule. But what a move. What do you think he did? You guys tell me. What do you think? Okay, he might have messed up with an early queen move. It is an early queen move. Good eye. Correct. That's right. And in fact, that's what Darkseid saw also. Darkseid saw that now he can go to b4 hitting the queen. So it activates that knight in much stronger terms than either one of White's knights. And it activates it stronger with tempo. That means his move is forcing White to react to that move, because, of course, he's thinking target. What better target than the queen? The queen who moved early. Very good. So, and you go, what's the big hubbubaloo? Just put the queen to b3 and threaten the knight. All right, let's see what happens. Notice how he's playing on this side, then he's playing on that side, then he's playing on this side, then he's playing on that side. Notice also in the process of doing this, his pieces are truly activated in a powerful way, and they're protected. The downside of the early queen move is she's had to move twice now, and she's still powerless, really. I mean, more or less. What can she do? This. So what? She can't take the knight. She doesn't have a diagonal. So again, the queen, because of the early queen move, just like in the last game, the queen was just kind of out of play, right? The queen is just kind of out of play. Those two queen moves, those two early queen moves, white still has two minor pieces on their home square, right? So two early queen moves gave dark side two extra knight moves. A very important point, and we'll see the effect of this. Boy, I'm making you sound like Magnus Carlsen, aren't I, Dustin? Woohoo! That's what friends are for, my buddy. Okay, so let's check it out. All right. In a way, I get it. You want to, this does appear somewhat to dampen the extent of the bishop, right? I mean, he can't put the bishop there because the knight would gladly take the light squared bishop, right? You would exchange that without even flinching, right? So, yeah, the bishop's limited, but again, the downside here is another pawn move, and you're truly underdeveloped. You're making too many pawn moves. Now, perhaps that's the way that dark side plays against me too. I'm going to go analyze my games with him because maybe that's what part of my problem is, because he puts his pieces on so dang many fabulous active squares that you can't help but move a pawn move because your pieces have nowhere to go. It's a great psychological moment here because he now goes d5, knight d5. So his knights are bebopping all over the place. And this is a devastating effect. You go, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Bishop d3. Let's check it out. So now, bringing out a piece with tempo. Nice, nice. What are you going to do about that, dark side? Huh? What are you going to do about that, smart aleck, with your prancing horses? Here's what he's going to do with it. Whoop, no. This one, knight g5. So he's moving his knights like crazy. And in order not to be hypocritical here, dark side is also not developing very speedily. But he's still better developed than his opponent because the queen's, yeah, I suppose she is keeping an eye on that, like the other game. But his knights are maneuvering. Why? Because there's nothing coming crashing through the center attacking him. Now, notice neither one of these guys have castled, but that's because there's no attack through the center just yet. In a way, this isn't attacking or wasting time. He's manipulating the position. He's playing more positional. Now, I agree, though, neither of them are developing very fast. And in fact, now the developed pieces are getting exchanged. But look at the difference now. The short-term knights hopping around has given way to the long-term bishops. But notice it's a queen bishop battery. And his bishop is so much better placed than the white bishop. What do you do in this case? He castles. Now he realizes, the fight is on. And dark side said, I can't agree with you more. Yes, the fight is on. Let's get it done. So now we've got him castled. So now he feels ready to attack. And dark side said, yes, Let's bring the attack on. Now, I've sounded like I've been criticizing them for the lack of development in many regards, and they're making too many piece moves with the same pieces, right? Because as beginners, we need to focus on development, but remember, not one inaccuracy, not one mistake, not one blunder was played by Black. Now, there's the key. He hasn't just been moving anywhere with no effect. He's been setting up the position. Where is his queen? Closer to the king. Well, I mean, come on. You attack the opponent's king. You put your pieces closer to the opponent's king. And has he not accomplished that? Now, let me ask you the obvious. At least it is to me, because the queens are such a vital play in each game of chess. That's why if you blunder the queen, oh crap, well, this game's a shot. You usually resign. That's not by accident, because she's the powerful babe. But where is the white queen? She's over here. Well, she's putting pressure on the knight. No, she's not. That knight is on an outpost. Understand the principle of the outpost. The pawn supports the knight. This pawn is past the square where he could chase the knight off. And this pawn is gone. So the only way to get rid of that pesky outpost knight is to swap pieces with it. And usually that's either going to be a bishop or rook, because the queen isn't going to take the knight on an outpost supported by the pawn. But then on the other side, neither is a rook and neither is a bishop, because bishops in the long run are the stronger piece. So in his wandering, he's gotten rid of the bishop pair of white and his own, and his isn't developed yet, I agree. But the compensation is the knight and the queen being that much closer to the king. This queen is not at all anywhere near the black king. I know I'm elaborating on it. This is exciting to me to see how he did this. And maybe this wasn't any of his idea in playing the game, but for me, that's what I'm seeing. It'll be fun to analyze it with him here in a couple of days. I think this is awesome. It's wonderful. So you guys are okay, yeah. So now G3. Okay, now as a general rule, it weakens the king side. Now we see the white squares are weak. Now it just so happens that it is the white squared bishop that dark side has. So now seriously, get that bishop into play, is my opinion. Get it out here. Because now you have the capability. Look, your knight is on outpost El Magnifico. And you get your bishop in here with the queen, and you got your rook on the semi-open file. Hot dang, baby. We're talking kingside attack. Right? Look, this is almost a 2,000 rated player, you guys. And he just weakened his king side. Now, of course, it's because the combination of the knight and the queen is so deadly. He is taking away the square of the knight. I get that. I understand. But the downside is this tremendous weakening. And the only reason I'm making a big deal of it is because Dark Side of War still has his light squared bishop. So let's see what happens. B6. Hit the center, open. I rest my case. See, by far, that is the best way to do the bishop. These two pawns are playing a phenomenal role in governing this center, even though white also has two pawns, not quite as centrally well placed. But this isn't about attacking the pawn. This is about putting the bishop here. And guess where it's going? Guess where it's going? Right to where those weak squares are. Bingo. I just made a great big elaborate deal about that, and sure enough, as sugar is sweet, here we go. So let's see what his opponent does. And, you know, I'm not as high and powerful at chess, rating or playing or otherwise. There is no dark squared bishop to worry about limiting an influence. You don't have any knights, and that would be a horrible outpost anyway. But it does prevent the knight from coming here. But dark side isn't going to put his knight there. The king is over there. It's obvious. He's getting ready to bring the bishop. He's got the knight on the outpost ready to hop in as a sacrificial piece. The queen is over near the king. Everything in Darkside's position says, Bubba, if you're playing white, you need to start scooting that away. You've lost the initiative. Your position is not as good as Darkside's. Even though he doesn't actually possess a lot of the central squares, that knight's dominating the game. That's the key. Just so you understand. So A3. Am I reading this right, Dustin? Correct me if I'm wrong. I sincerely don't get the point of that waste of a move based on your position and all of the hints you're giving to make it a directed. Am I missing something? That it's hard to fathom that a man who was rated at 1993 or 1967 or whatever he was would do that. That just makes no sense to me. Is he trying to give his queen a square to back up or something? Maybe he's thinking, okay, this is going to open up and the rook's going to come over, and I want to keep my queen on this side, so maybe I have to open up a place for the queen. But the queen does not belong on that side. Not now. The queen is needed over here, in my opinion. And I know that kind of the downside of that is white is ending up reacting, which is not good. I understand that. If he starts pushing everything that way, he's reacting to dark side of war. But for the love of everything that's sacred, your king is pretty nude right now, and you really muffed it opening it up. I get the rationale. You're trying to limit the knight, but if you get your pieces over there, you wouldn't have to do that. So in my opinion, this pawn move and this pawn move absolutely clobbers him. That's my commentary. I'm sticking to it. Bingo. Kablam. Here we go. Here we go. Bishop b7. Queen to c2. Okay. Good. That's a move in the right direction. And now g6. What's he doing? Let's watch. Rook a to c1. Okay, I think I am he. This is kind of giving you an indication that he's trying to think. Look, he's probably recognizing, uh-oh, my king side is going to be attacked, and I really do need to do something much speedier on the queen side. And so when I take and he takes, this file's going to be open, and I'm going to have some kind of a battery. So I'm going to put my rook on a future open file, which is it's good to attempt to forward think that way. That's true. But with the queen rook battery, and you have two rooks here, the queen rook battery, um, I, I just don't see how it works. It's too little, too late. And again, see, the position allows dark side to begin to sacrifice because he pushed the pawn and that weakened the king side. Now he's cracking it open. That type of a sacrifice is always what makes us keep coming back for more in chess, right? It does me anyway. My problem is most of my opponents throw that crap at me before I can get it thrown at them. And now look at this. Rook F to E1. Look, his opponent's starting to try a little bit. Okay, I'm going to grant him that. He's getting his rooks going. Come on, Dustin. Do this. Do this. Observe, though, that he did. The pawn is pinned, and that's why that's such a good tactic. So there's still so much more he has to do to get the attack on the queen side. He's waited too long. Dustin is already here with a great tactic. The queen pins the pawn. Now, none of this, notice, the tactic comes because of the superior position of the black pieces. The tactic wouldn't have been possible. This is a great illustration I'm going to show you. If he would have just found a different way, if he would have brought his rooks over here or whatever, something, his bishops, his queen, how long has she been over here doing virtually nothing? Well, maybe she was keeping the bishop in check, I suppose. But man, anything but pushing the pawn, because if the pawn structure would have been like that, there is no tactic there. Now, granted, there is a direct threat of mate. That's true. But you see the point. What this pawn push did is it gave what we call a hook. And dark side can take advantage of that hook now. Now it's close to curtains. Because now he can go knight h3 check. Once again. And you saw the knight way over here, right? And he had already moved twice, right? Watch. He's made several more moves. And now he's getting ready to checkmate the king with the queen, but with the backup. That's just fantastic. So yeah, he got his piece developed a little late. I agree. But it absolutely owns the white king side all the way. In conjunction with the queen and the knight, if you're a betting person in Vegas, put $1 million down on black to win. I'm just saying. You're going to make some money tonight, right? King F1. So we come to the moment of truth. However, how would you play it? This is where it gets fun. This is where dark side just outshines me brilliantly all the time. And I love him for it. He's an awesome chess player. He teaches me, and I'm trying to learn more from his fantastic mind. Yeah, I'm buttering you up. Just shut up and take it, pal. But what move would you do here now? Go ahead and take a look. Read the board. Look for tactics if you think there's any. Or is there something with developing a piece you could do? Is there something a pawn might be able to do? You see, this is where we analyze everything on the board. What would you do? This will be fun to see what you think. And by the way, thanks for being so active in the chat. This is a lot of fun. All right. Close. Yeah, there is a sacrifice. Parker, S. Parker. Let's take a look at this. Oh, so does Rick. Rick says so. Rick says so. The rook takes. Okay. As far as it goes, now that's not the movie played, but nice eye. Really. Because that ain't bad. That ain't bad. That makes me sound like a redneck. That is not inappropriate. Is that better? No, I didn't think so. Good move. However, Darkseid likes to have fun in his chess games. So what he did is he took it with the knight. And this sets up a crazy tactic. You see what he did here? It's here that White resigned, just so you know. And I'll show you why in just a second. I just want to play with you for just a few minutes. Yes. Hi, Debbie Donovan. Great to see you, dear. Yes, I will show you the ending, the potential ending. Yeah. Because what this does is it sets up the king for a discovery check. If the queen, if the king doesn't get out of the way of the, remember, I say this, rook belong on open files. Amen, brother. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord and pass the mustard. That is true doctrine. Rooks belong on open files. However, rooks also are very, very well placed across from the opponent's king and or queen. Every time. It just doesn't matter how much crap is in between them. The nice thing about this setup for a beautiful tactic is it's Darkseid's crap that's between the discovery, so he can control it. And by taking the bishop next, it depends on what White does. Realistically, if you're White, see, this is the threat. Now, Aaron Nimzovich, probably a century ago, man, he said the threat is more dangerous than the actual maneuver. Checks, captures, threats. This is a very deadly threat. And you're not going to move the bishop to avoid being taken by the knight because the threat is still there of the discovered check, which is one of the most powerful tactics available to us in this game of chess. Not this, well, this game too, but in the game of chess. So he still has that move, and the knight can't be taken because the king is in a discovered check. Now the king has to move, and the knight gets to win the exchange, taking the rook. So even if the bishop moved out of the way, it does not help. You see how that works? This is so cool. Realistically, White is just sunk, and it's here. That's why he resigned. But even if the king goes to here, now that you have the open file, you can come back to here. And now you're cooking with gas because this is covered. That's not an escape square. He's in check. That's not an escape square. 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 That's checkmate. Isn't that phenomenal? It wouldn't matter, in other words, because of the way Darkside set up that tactic. This is fun. Now, the computer, I want to show you how it could have ended. Now, that's one potential ending, right? So we've got this set up, and the computer says if instead of King G1 stepping out of the way because of what I just showed you, if instead White had went ahead and said, rather than coming here, what if he comes to C4? Okay, same principle. It says knight. Oh, then, no. Knight comes to 3. I think it says H. I wrote down B3. I might have wrote this wrong. I apologize. It might be H3, check. And king comes to E2. And queen comes to G4, check. And king goes to D2. So now we've got a runner. The king becomes the cowardly king. But can he escape his ultimate fate? No, he cannot. Why? Because of the superior position of the black. Now you can zippity doo dah and take the central pawn, check again. And now you can block with the queen. So at this point, do the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces for black. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces for white. White is down the exchange. Black could exchange the queens and retain a winning position. But there's a stronger play here still. And I know so many of us, when we get the option, I'm winning, and he's offering me the queen. Yeah, take it. Get her off the board. However, when you're attacking, you want to keep your queen. So this is more of an act of desperation on White's part, but there's a much better move to play than exchange. And you've got this open file here, see? Use it. Bring another piece where? Closer to the king and go check. Now the king can't move, so you put the rook in front of the rook. And now instead of exchanging queens, you're going to exchange the rooks and keep your most powerful attacker on the board, the queen. So you take the rook, and the king takes the rook, and the queen comes to F2 again. That beautiful scenario of the combining of the queen and the knight. Man, they make the best dynamic duo because they don't reproduce squares. They always conjunct together very, very well. King goes to D1, and now the bishop gets to slide along that powerful diagonal, and you have a truly magnificent attack that's going to end in checkmate very, very shortly, as in right now, except for one thing. The queen's got a block. Remember, there's a battery. So he at least loses the queen, and the bishop comes in. And because you brought an extra piece in, the rook, instead of exchanging queens instantly, you brought another piece in. And then you brought another piece in. You were able to get the queen for a bishop instead of a queen for a queen. So again, this kind of emphasized the idea of checks, captures, and threats. The more threats he made, the better off he was. So fun game. Thank you, Dark Side of War, Dustin Wainwright, for allowing me to showcase your 2 games that put you over 2,000. Congratulations, sincerely, from my heart to you, buddy. Very, very nice, very fun, good educational stuff for all of us. I hope you guys appreciated this. This is fun. It's fun for me to show it, but it's really fun to see it because it comes from a really good friend and a great chess partner. So anyway, yeah, on Leeches. Dark Side of War is found on Leeches. Absolutely. Hey, Gordon Reed, thank you. And Mr. Rabbit, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. In essence, he did, didn't he? That's a good observation, Mr. Rabbit. White lost in the opening. And it's just that Dark Side of War kept relentlessly maneuvering into a better position, even though it took quite a few piece moves over and over and over again. He got the better position, and from that, once again, from the better position, tactics happen. So anyway, good stuff. Thank you again, Dark Side. I love you, brother. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, this was kind of a on-the-cuff, spur-of-the-moment type live show because Dark Side showed me this game, and he was really excited about it, and I played through it, and I said, oh, my gosh, yes, let's show this. So thanks once again. Okay, you guys, I've kept you long enough, man. Hour and a half almost. Woohoo! Great chess night, right, for Monday night. I'm glad you could all join me. This has been a boatload of fun. Keep track of me during this week. I'm going to see if I can get some chess recordings made. Who knows? Maybe do another chess live. If you guys have really good game. Now, remember, this game, no mistakes, no inaccuracies, and no blunders. It was well done. So that's what makes this so much fun. I don't know if I've ever seen a game that was close to perfect like this. So, okay, I'm going to head out. I will be back with lots more. I'm going to try to do some philosophy videos this week, too. For those of you who like the philosophy, you know, that you get into the astonishing implications of quantum physics never cease to amaze me. Couple that with the amazing paradoxical ideas of infinity, of mathematics, science, of history, of the mystical yearning in our souls for something more than just this life, stuff like that. You know, all Jesus Dognis, one of the great religious philosophers. I can use some of his stuff. I'm going to try to do more dumb dad jokes also. They're easy and fun compared to the philosophy, the chess, and the religion, but much more to come. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. I'm going to head out. Appreciate all of you. Gotta go. See you soon. Hit the like button for me, would you? And tell all your friends we're doing this a lot. We're gaining momentum. We're getting stronger all together. That's what makes this so much fun. All right. Hasta la vista, baby.